Now it's time to create some guides and sketches that won't be shown in the final render, just so that your lighting and shading will feel natural sweeping across your scene. If you skipped the previous lessons, just make sure to have your illustration and the filled silhouette of that illustration on 2 separate layers in Animate. First of all, I'll name these layers. Double-click on the layer name and I'll name this one Girl and this one Shade. Let's create a new layer. Now I'm going to plan out the light source, which direction the light is coming from and the timing and speed that the light will travel in. I'll do this with the brush tool and I want a color symbolizing light. I'll choose an orange. A nice thing about Animate is that it lets you have multiple projects open at the same time. So I'll go to this tab here and enter the finished project. I'm scrolling through the timeline so you can see what I'm planning to animate. So we're going to make the shadow do this. The light is coming from the left corner, traveling up to the top and disappearing in the right corner. I'll go back to my work in progress. So the light will go something like this. Outline was turned on for some reason. I'll just change that here. I'll create a new layer and call it Light Source. You can't use space in your names in Animate, so I'll press underscore instead. I'll use a small brush for this, 3 points is good. I'll put the first light source here. I'm drawing the light beams so they cover the character, going from the top edge to the bottom edge, and I'll put some lines in between there. I want the light to go to the top in about a second and down to the right corner in about a second. So I'll expand the time up here to 2 seconds with F5. Click and drag and you can select multiple frames at once. And I've created an empty keyframe. Make sure the onion skin shows the previous frame and I'll start drawing the light source when it's at the top. You can make a straight line by holding down Shift. This isn't really aligned with the character, so I'll move it a little to the left. I'm going to draw 2 more key positions for the light source on this side. So I'll make an empty keyframe and just select the layer beneath and plan this out a little bit. Let's put 1 there and 1 there. And that's spread out pretty evenly. I'll lock this layer. I'm drawing my light as if it's coming from a spot or a little point, but maybe you want yours to come from a bigger area or from farther away, spreading the light in a straighter angle. Do this your way. This is just one way you can prepare for animating with an imaginary light. Now I've finished one side and I can copy and paste the light sketches to the other side. You do this by selecting the frame you'd like to copy in the timeline, and you can drag it over to wherever you want it. Now I need to flip this by right-clicking on the drawing and selecting Transform and Flip Horizontal. I'm holding down Shift to move it in a straight horizontal line and I'll place it so the lines match the character. You can ignore the guide because it's not even very accurate anyway. I'll even hide it from now on. Now you can do the same for the rest of the key positions on this side. Now we have all the light source key positions. And I want to spread out these keyframes evenly because the light will move in a linear motion. And the light will start showing 2 keyframes in. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's have 8 frames for each light position. So I'll nudge these a bit, move them around so each keyframe holds for 8 frames. I see here I'll have to expand the timeline a little bit for all of the layers. And the animation will be a little longer than 2 seconds, which is no problem. Now they're all even and I have a good light source guide for the main keyframes of the shade animation. I'll just expand these. And I can delete this guide layer from now on. Now I'll make sure these are locked and I'll hide the shade layer so we can see the character. And I'll create a new layer So another thing you can do, which is helpful for getting the shade right, is getting to know your character's shape and volume. So select the brush tool again and pick any color, and think about how your shape is formed. There might be some details that aren't illustrated already that might have an impact on how the shade will behave. Like for my character, the light will probably highlight her collarbones before touching the rest of her chest, so I'll start to draw a mesh to make the shape make sense in 3D. You don't need to be too picky here, just make lines that you think could help as a guide. Maybe making lines like this that emphasize the arms being cylinders will help you get the shade right. Now I have the right timing for the light's motion with 7 key positions, and I have the right angle so I know where the light is coming from, and I have a good understanding of the character's shape and volume. That means we're ready to animate the black silhouette into a moving shade.